Oil prices continue to rise with the demand increasing and with everything that's happening. Tensions are rising in the Middle East. Goldman Sachs is talking about another bull run and very exciting times for the oil and gas industry. This is the most exciting time to be an oil man and alive with what is happening today. I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you're an oil investor or you're in the oil and gas business, this is the channel for you. Please subscribe to my channel. Right now, WTI crude is $53.63 per barrel. Brent crude is currently $56.37 per barrel. Right now, the rig count is currently 360. We've had an increase of 9 naturally because oil prices are increasing. Frac spread count 143, and that's an increase of 10. And right now, we're producing 11 million barrels a day, down from the peak of over 13 million back in 2019. Can anything stop the current bull run in oil? U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude oil futures continued to move higher on Friday, with last February's high at $53.60, well within range. Investors continue to look beyond rising coronavirus cases instead of choosing to focus on the prospect of lower supply after Saudi Arabia pledged to cut out output in February. Look, investors continue to look beyond rising coronavirus cases. Look, that's the way I've been looking at this the whole time. Saudi Arabia is cutting production to balance the markets. Listen, it doesn't matter what happens with the COVID-19 cases. It doesn't matter with what is happening in our markets. Saudi Arabia, their pledge is to keep oil prices high enough to where they could be profitable, but low enough to keep shale in the red. Okay, I've been saying this for a long time. Okay, so they've tightened the markets. But the wild card is what's happening in the Middle East. Okay, and so oil prices continue to rise in response to Saudi Arabia's decision to make a big voluntary production cut. Saudi Arabia, the world's biggest oil exporter, said earlier in the week it would make an additional voluntary oil cuts of 1 million barrels a day. All right. Crude inventories fell by 8 million barrels in the week of January, 1 to 485.5 million barrels, their biggest decline since August, exceeding analysts' expectations, and Reuters poll for a 2.1 million barrel drop. The drawdown in stocks is typical for the end of the year when energy companies take barrels out of storage to avoid hefty tax bills. Okay. The pandemic. Now, this is something I've been talking about for a long time, but it's nice when the analysts and journalists are actually writing about it. Okay, so the pandemic could lead to a major oil supply crunch. Okay, it may be counterintuitive to say that the oil demand crash in the resulting glut in 2020 could lead to an oil supply crunch in just a few years. Yet a growing number of experts and international agencies warn that the world could be headed for an oil shortage when oil demand finally recovers from the COVID-inflicted crisis in late 2022 or 2023. Look, guys, I've been talking about this for a long time, and now it's starting to become more mainstream. Last year, the pandemic/global oil demand, which is not expected to return to pre-crisis levels for at least another year and a half. But the coronavirus also accelerated to a structural decline in upstream oil investments as all E&P firms, oil supermajors, U.S. shale producers, and national oil companies alike slashed capital expenditures in the wake of price crash. Investments in new oil supply have now slumped to a more than a decade low. If the industry doesn't raise upstream investments in coming years, the oil markets could be headed to a supply crunch after oil global demand recovers, analysts and forecasts warn. I've been saying this for years, guys, and it's nice to see confirmation to the things I'm saying versus being a lone ranger on this. I'm not saying I'm the only guy saying it, but there's very few out there. But 2020 investments hit a new low. The International Energy Agency, IEA, expected that the global investment in upstream oil and gas to crash 32% a year over year to US $328 billion in 2020. After 3 conservative years in investment growth, the expected rate of decline in 2020 was larger than 25 to 26% decline in 15 to 16 period. While the value of 2020 investments was down by 60% from the peak of US $779 billion in 2014. The decline in investment in 2020 already takes an estimated 2.1 million barrels a day away from anticipated oil supply in 25. The IEA also warned that if investments were to stay at 2020 levels over the next 5 years, it would reduce the previously expected level of oil supply in 2025 by nearly 9 million barrels a day. So this is the plan of OPEC, okay? Shale, we were producing about 6 million barrels a day in 2008. Okay, U.S. production, okay? And then we went from 6 million and we skyrocketed upwards of 20 million a day, okay? And so most of that came from shale. 13 million of it came from shale oil output, all right? And so the reduction of 9 million barrels a day will balance the current increase of shale production, and it'll put us back to 2008. In 2008, we're over $100 a barrel. Now, it doesn't take rocket science to figure this out, but we're on our way for triple-digit oil again, okay? And I think 99 million is an understatement. I think it's going to be more than that. Here's another supporting article. HSBC shareholders urge bank to cut fossil fuel funding. Look, there's so much heat on banks, lenders, colleges to defund their investments in oil and gas because the agenda, the mass media, the agenda, college students, the millennials, the Generation X, Biden, the campaign. I mean, everybody is putting pressure on people that are involved in oil and gas to get out. Why? Because that's the agenda. And so the younger generation really believes that our planet's being destroyed because of fossil fuels. So they're getting a lot of pressure, and so they're caving to the pressure. Even oil and gas companies are caving to the pressure, and it's only supporting the news regarding we're going to be in a supply crunch because of underinvestment in oil and gas. And I saw the writing on the wall, and here we are. Okay. And so are clean energy stocks in a bubble territory? Yes, they are. Okay. I'm not going to go any more than that. That'll be a later video. Goldman finds unexpected source of demand for 1 million barrels a day of oil, having recently turned even more bullish on the oil market, bringing forward up its year-end $65 Brent price target to the summer on Monday. Overnight, Goldman's commodity team turned even more bullish on oil, discovering an unexpected source of oil demand in the near term, which could lead to even higher oil prices in coming days. Specifically, according to Goldman's Damien's, global oil demand will be boosted by at least 1 million barrels a day in the coming weeks as cold weather spurs the use of diesel for power generation. All right. So, look, everything that they're saying about the pandemic, it's going to destroy oil demand. We're finding out that most of that was grossly over-exaggerated. And that's one of the things I've been talking about in previous videos, okay? It was all a big slime campaign against the oil and gas industry, trying to get people to get out. So here's a nice chart that shows how South America's oil production peaked in 2015 due to Venezuela's production collapse. Okay, so Venezuela production started collapsing in 2015, but even though that Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, Ecuador has increased in production, the levels of South America's oil have continued to decline. So they peaked just under 8 million a day, and then they dropped. So even though Brazil is increasing, Colombia is increasing, they reached a peak and now they slowly decline. And so oil production around the world is declining. So that's why we need to find new oil discoveries. But everyone thinks, hey, green tech is going to save the day, right? Well, we need oil right now. They're saying in 10 years from now, we're going to reach peak oil demand, which I don't believe that at all. Okay. So far, they've been wrong about everything. The pandemic said it's going to destroy oil demand. Hey, that wasn't true. Okay. Green tech is going to replace fossil fuels. Well, it hasn't happened yet. We're still waiting for this, for them to pull a rabbit out of their hat. I mean, it's not there. Okay. This is what happened. Okay. Green tech says, hey, this ship is sinking and it's old and we need to replace it. So here's a new ship, okay? Now, you can't see it yet, but let's go ahead and jump on. And so they're jumping off this ship, and they haven't landed yet. But they're either going to land on a brand new, beautiful ship, or they're going to fall into the ocean, okay? Look, we are on our way to a situation where there's not going to be enough oil because everyone's jumping ship way too early. We need to focus on the oil. We need to develop more oil because we've got over 150 years of grid to replace. It took us 150 years to build up the grid, the power grid, to the level that it's at. And it's all built on oil and gas, fossil fuels. And they expect to replace that with green tech. Look, that's going to cost trillions of dollars, which we don't have, and it's going to take years and years and years. But listen, let's get away from fossil fuels right now. Let's worry about that later. No, it ain't going to happen, guys. U.S. marks Houthi rebels as terrorists after attacks on oil assets in the Middle East. Look, if you're following Pompeo, if you're following the news, look, it's like they're moving their chess pieces around to get the world to believe that the Houthi rebels, which is Iran, is a terrorist organization, and we need to start dropping bombs out there. Same thing that we saw from the Bush administration, weapons of mass destructions, and so on and so forth. Mark my words, we're going to war with Iran, and it's going to send oil prices very high, especially as tighten as the oil markets have gotten. Now, listen, I don't know when they're going to go to war. Okay. All I know is that they're preparing our minds to believe that Iran is completely evil, which I believe they are. And that's what they do before they go in. Okay. So this is something one of my videos, a couple of my videos got nailed by Google, and I wanted to read this. I got a couple emails regarding my videos. So ads that potentially profit from or exploit a sensitive event with significant social, cultural, or political impacts, such as civil emergencies, natural disasters, public health emergencies, terrorism, and related activities, conflict, or mass acts of violence. Okay, so they're saying that my videos are potentially profiting from civil emergencies or natural disasters because I've talked about how they accuse fossil fuels of being evil and blah, 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 blah. This is garbage, okay? I didn't get this stuff until I started attacking social media platforms, YouTube, Twitter, and what have you. And so they're coming after me, guys. Look, I might not have a YouTube channel next 3 or 4 months. I don't know. But I'm telling you right now, my videos, they should be getting a lot more views. So I'd appreciate you guys if you subscribe to my channel and if you share my videos, because the algorithm is not going to help us. The algorithm isn't helping me. Okay, you go to YouTube and you type in searching about oil and gas and questions about it. You're going to see mainly, you're going to see a lot of green things or what have you. Something that Google approves of, okay? So anyways, I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you like this channel, please subscribe and please share my content. I would appreciate it. We'll talk soon. Thanks.